everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entering the Unknown. So this week we are joined by the delightful Bill and Kris Reap. Good evening, guys. How are you?
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having us.
Oh, do you know what? It's an absolute pleasure. We do like to speak to as many people as we can, obviously, because I like to talk. But it's really nice to speak to people from across the pond as well, because we get a different perspective from what we get here all the time.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it.
So, I mean, let's go to basics, guys. So, how and when did you two first get into the paranormal?
I know. Can I say?
No, shush.
I know.
Okay.
Bill was 1978, and I think Kris was 1984.
Yeah, right about that time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
I'm impressed.
I think Dave's a stalker.
How did you know? How did you know that?
Just do not look out the window, is all I'm saying.
Stalkers are just enthusiastic fans.
Honestly, right. So, can we go back to the investigation? No, can we go back to the interview now, Dave? Is that all right?
Yeah, sure.
So Dave's obviously informed us of the years that you two became into the paranormal, but how did that come about? What is it about the paranormal that brought you two into this weird and wonderful world?
Well, for me, my great-grandmother died, and I started playing with Ouija boards and wanting more answers about what happens when we die. And I was right around 16 years old and started just delving into trying to find more answers. What happens when we're gone? Is it just we're in the dirt and that's it, or is there more to it? And over the years, kind of in and out of checking things out. And then when Bill and I started investigating together, got even further into it and getting a little more answer-wise and getting the bug even stronger than ever before.
Me, it was Ed and Lorraine Warren had worked on a case in my area where I grew up. And I was very interested in what was going on. A friend of mine in high school lived next door to the house. And that really, was that's the time that grabbed me. But leading up to that, I was always reading, all the crazy books on UFOs and aliens and Yetis and Sasquatch and ghosts and, ESP and all of these, looking for answers. And, and I'm still looking. And, had a couple really weird experiences throughout the years, and you just sit there and say, "Wow, why, how, what?" You need more.
I completely agree with what you've just said, because for me, I mean, I've been into the paranormal for too many years that I can't even count anymore, and it does, like you say, it's just something that the more you go down the path, the more questions that you have and the more answers that you want. The only problem that we've got with that is that we don't often find answers to what we're actually looking for. I mean, Kris, I know you just said that you was getting answers. So what sort of answers was you getting?
Well, answers along the lines that there is more after these bodies pass on. There's more to it, something beyond this lifetime, this realm. When we get responses to questions, and we're getting audio coming through or intelligent communication, that screams that there is more. I mean, and every time we get something along that line, it just brings up more questions. Now, who is this? How are they communicating? How do they know to communicate with us in this way? There's a lot. Every answer brings more questions.
It is a massive rabbit hole that you just can't seem to get to the bottom of, isn't it? We're all stuck in this merry-go-round of going round and round and round in circles. So, I mean, you guys are obviously Reap Paranormal. Oh, no. Is it Reap Investigations?
Reap Investigations, yep.
Thought it was, yeah. So how long has REAP investigations been going?
10 years.
10 years.
10 years. Do you know what? That's really, really good these days, because paranormal teams seem to pop up out of nowhere, and then as quick as they've come, they've gone. So to be going for 10 years, that is awesome. So congratulations on the 10 years, guys.
Well, thank you.
So you guys do public investigations as well, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
We do private, public, historical. We do events where we speak at, attend, and talk to other investigators. So we kind of get involved in all of it.
Best way, in my opinion. So when it comes to your private investigations compared to your public investigations, how do they differ?
Well, usually our private investigations are, involving a family.
Yeah, instead of having 40 guests coming, we have 20 in someone's house. No, it's just team members, and with such an absolute phenomenal team, wherever we are, we have team members within a few hours, almost, and we can pull on those team members whose strengths would apply to the case, whose gifts. We have a phenomenal researcher who just crazy good. And so we reach out to her. If we're in the Southeast, we call on Amy Green or Steve Teig. If we're in the Northeast, we call on Mike Gallant and his group up in the Northeast. In the West Coast, or Brian and Charlie and Scotty Rourke up in the Midwest. So we have people everywhere.
Yeah, our team spans the
great.
whole country. Hashtag REAP Nation. We've been, and Kris and I travel the country in our RV. So, it's great because, we're constantly getting calls from the West Coast, and we were on the East Coast saying, hey, we really want you to, can you come out and help us? I have this going on or that going on. And it's like, we're on the East Coast and we're like 3,000 miles away from you. There are teams locally. Can we help you that way? And then, as we evolved, our team grew, and it's a phenomenal team, as Kris said. By far, I feel we have the best team in the paranormal.
This is the thing, though, isn't it? Like you say, your team over the span of the last 10 years has evolved and has grown.
Yes.
And with that, you've got a different skill set which you can put to every scenario, which
Absolutely.
I suppose makes the whole world of a difference.
It does. It does. You're able to help. You're able to move quicker. And things are very. When you get into a private case, there's sometimes a bit in a hurry, because everybody watches television, so they immediately think they have a D word in their house, which is hardly the case. But yeah. Let's provoke
10 points to the first person in the chat room who can tell us what the D word is.
Yeah, and having everyone across the country is wonderful, because if we have a case in the out west and they say, we have a small child, they're being tormented. I mean, when it comes to children, Bill and I drop everything we're doing. If we have an event plan, that event gets rescheduled or reworked so that we can go and help a family. When there's children involved, we don't want wait. We want to be on top of it as fast as we can. And by having team members across the country, rather than someone waiting for us to drive 4 days across country to get to the West Coast, we could call on Michelle LeBaron and her team, or Brian and Charlie, and get them on the case, at least started,
until we get there.
Or they're phenomenal investigators.
So when you take on a private case, so when you get I would say the initial phone call, but it's not like Ghostbusters. We don't get phone calls. You get an inbox in your messenger. Let's be realistic. So that email or messenger will hit straight away. So what is the first step that you take at that point?
we'll do an interview with the people being affected, try to get a little bit of the information and the backstory of what's going on. Our interview process is pretty intimate. We ask a lot of
Very
personal questions, and we draw our conclusions from that. We ask for if they had captured any evidence or what's making them believe that this phenomenon is happening. And then we start researching the area, we start researching the house, we start researching the properties surrounding it, to kind of start painting a picture of what possibly could be, starting this. We just came back from a case in Massachusetts the first weekend in October, and it was very close to Salem. We were in Danvers. And I said to Kris when we got up, I'm like, are we crazy coming to Salem now? Because it was insane. And we don't get paid to do this. So it's our dime. So we had to pay we couldn't take the RV.
So
because everything, so we had to hotel it, and it's like, we have to pay the idiot price to go visit Salem.
And we didn't even.
This is the thing. I don't think people realize the cost involved to paranormal investigators, especially like you guys. I absolutely love the fact that you don't just, the minute you get a message, you don't just pack up your little silver aluminium cases and jump in the RV and off you pop. Do you know what I mean? I love the fact that you actually interview and speak with the people that it affects in. But you say that, but you'd be surprised how many people rock up with a K2 and some dowsing rods, and a little bit of holy water, and start running around somebody's house with a sage stick. Do you know what I mean? That does happen, and we all know it does.
Yes, it does.
But very few people actually interview the people before going, and to me, that is where a lot of the paranormal or alleged paranormal can be disused straight away, because you've got people that are suffering with mental health,
exactly,
or medication.
Absolutely. And that's in the interview process. We ask about medications. Mm-hmm. We ask about drugs, alcohol, anything that could possibly mind alter, even basic prescription medication. Sometimes when together, they're fine separately, but when used together, they can create mind altered state. And we have to kind of weed that out.
So there's a lot of moving parts. So you really need to understand that especially with a private case, that you're entering someone's life. Okay. You're also entering a realm, and a good portion of our team is military or law enforcement in their background. So we kind of look at things a little bit weird and different sometimes. You never know what the situation is that you're walking into. You're going to someone's house, you don't know what you're walking into. They could be an axe murderer, you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You're opening yourself up to a whole host of weird and wonderful things, aren't you?
Yes, so you need to ask questions. You need to protect yourself. Safety of yourself and your team is number one. So we do ask the questions, and we're not. And it is more like an interrogation than it is an interview sometimes, because, it's like we need to have these answers in order to help you. And you got to be honest with us, because when we show up, and just because you stuck daisies in the bong, it's still a bong. It's not a vase.
And one of the things we need to do before we go to a home is look at resources around the home. Family services, mental, psychiatric help, things along those lines. Because if you go into a home and what it turns out is someone's having a psychotic break, or you walk into the home and the children are filthy and there's animal excrement all over the place, you need to know who to call to get them in there as fast as possible to help that family or save those children. You never know what you're going to walk into. So the interview is a really important part of that process to cut down on the likelihood of running into major trouble. We're walking into homes of people who messaged us on Facebook. It could be Michael Myers hanging out, luring a thing.
Yeah. Have you ever had a family that's contacted you and then pulled out? at the last minute?
Yes.
Yes.
You have.
Did you ever find out why they'd pulled out?
No.
This is where I'm going to sound like a complete bitch, and I don't mean to, but I've been in that situation before where I've actually said to people, I want you to do a diary for the next week for me of the alleged paranormal activity. Send me it over. I'll have a look through, then we'll have a conversation. It's never got any further than the diary because they can't be bothered.
Right.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the paranormal activity just disappears. It's wonderful.
I think right now you see less of that. 3, 4, 5 years ago, you saw a lot more of it because let's face it, TV was paying you to be haunted. So you had a lot of people saying they were haunted that really weren't. And they would just jump from team to team trying to get somebody to validate that their place is haunted. And when you do, an interview process and you do, let's keep a diary for a week. Let's see what's going on. Show me what's going on. Now it's like, well, now I got to validate this stuff. And, it tends to, I think, sometimes just goes away.
And it's not fail proof, but it does cut down on how many
Fakes.
Fake trips we're towing the RV behind us, driving for days and spending however much on gas, or flying in and staying at a hotel. By the interview process and requesting things like logging what's going on and keeping clear data, it does cut down on wasted trips.
Absolutely.
And leaves your time free for those who truly need to see you.
A lot of people, it's interesting because we get a lot of messages, hey, can you help us? I got this photo. This is what's going on. This is what I'm feeling. Okay, you're feeling this. And they send you the photo and they go, look, there's a green orb in every photo. And I go, oh, do you have an iPhone? Well, yes. Well, that's the green dot is because his iPhone is programmed to try to get rid of the light that's in front of it. So it shows that green light, and that's your green orb. So, everybody across the world has been, covered in green orbs now. Thank you to iPhones.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, let's not forget, let's throw into the mix here, because loads of people do this, and it is one of my massive pet hates. Every time I see it, I either want to throw my phone or my laptop, whichever I've got, and I'm seeing it on. It is that red ring. Bog off with your red ring. If you need a red ring to point it out, then it's not there in the first place, is it?
Right.
Well, this was a number of years ago. Somebody had sent us a photograph, and it had the red ring on it. And I'm like, looking at it, Kris looked at it, and we're like, okay, this is something else matrixing. But over here in the right-hand corner is something that you can't explain, but they're not even interested in that.
Well, the red ring is, for me, the equivalent of playing an EVP on video and putting up prior to the video playing what it says. Because if you read what it says and they tell you what it says, your brain is automatically going to focus on those words. Rather than playing it a few times and saying, what do you think? Here's what we believe it to say. After it's been played.
Do you know, with EVPs, especially on public events, I used to make people write down the first time they heard it. I used to get them to write down what they thought they heard, and in doing that, you cut out so many people going, "Oh, that's what I heard too." Because afterwards, we'd replay it, so we'd all listen to it again with fresh ears, and then we would go through all the papers and see what everybody had written down.
I love that idea.
Oh, do you know, I'm full of these sorts of ideas, honestly, Kris. It's unreal.
I'm going to start using that.
Honestly, feel free. Feel free to use it. It works wonders, because you can guarantee where you'd usually have 10 or 15 people saying, oh my God, I heard that. You're down to maybe 1 or 2 people that think that they heard exactly the same thing.
It's interesting. Maybe
from there.
Kris might elaborate on this, but they captured an EVP while they were FaceTiming with Mish. Michelle LeBaron was out on the West Coast. We were on the East Coast at a place doing a session. They had Mish live, and they captured an EVP, and they played it for all of us, and everybody had, and nobody says what it is. Kris is great. She goes individually, what do you hear here? And she's trying to piece together with this sentence, because it's a sentence. It's a very long sentence.
Right. And we were Facebook chat with one member on the West Coast. We had two of us in a room with this EVP, and when we played it back, we all heard the same first 5 words, and then we heard the same last 3 words. But there's about 3 or 4 words right in the center of it that none of us can agree on what it says or make it out. We all have slight variations of what that middle says, but the beginning and end were very close.
Don't you agree that EVPs are so hard to how can I say, increase the volume on it without distorting it as well?
Correct.
Right.
I've caught quite a lot when we've been investigating on the normal video cameras, microphones, and it's some of the EVPs are so low you can only hear them with headphones, and when you do try to enhance that volume, it just distorts it to something else completely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a hard process. It really is, to try to catch something. If you're lucky to catch, a Class A EVP and it's crystal clear and it's loud, you're lucky. And those are great catches when you do get them.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree with that. It is difficult, like you say, though. I mean, in 10 years of investigation, how much evidence as such would you guys say that you've actually managed to capture that is unexplainable?
Oh boy.
I mean, we've done
God, there's so
many cases and so
lots
many
of EVPs.
We have a lot of really
great EVPs.
crystal clear EVPs.
One in particular, one of my favorites, we were in Shepherdstown at a cemetery where there was a Revolutionary War soldier and his wife next to each other, and they had just found them and then put up new stones for them. And we were told to go up and talk to the little boy in the cemetery, and we got nothing from him, but we went down. Bill wanted to talk to the Revolutionary soldier. So not only were we doing an EVP session, I was filming Bill doing the EVP session. And as I pan around, you can see there's no one in the area. It's just Bill and I, the camera and the recorder. And Bill asks, I forget, John, are you here with us? And very clearly the response is, yes, sir. Like he's standing right there. And then Bill says, who is the woman next to you? And the response, clear as day, is my wife. And so not only do we have it on the EVP, but we have a video of that EVP being caught.
Oh, that's beautiful. That was still
that was awesome. And that was during the day. That was probably 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. But you see, this is the thing. This is the misconception about paranormal investigating, isn't it? So many people actually believe that you have to go out in the dark.
You don't.
Ghosts still come out in the daytime.
It's funny. A couple of years ago, we were invited to the Houdini Museum to investigate. Investigate in the Houdini Museum, and phenomenal place. And Kris's Houdini is in Kris's family tree.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. So we went out and we did this investigation, and they were they're very much like Houdini. Okay, all of this stuff is hooey. And
there's explanations.
There's explanations for everything.
Even though there was stuff that they were telling us about that I'm trying to even come up with any kind of logical excuse for it.
So they wouldn't allow us. They said you could do everything you want, but everything has to be lit. We're not shutting out any of the lights. We're turning up our house lights in the stage area, everything.
Yeah, so, it was very well lit.
So it was very, very well lit. And, we went and we're like, hey, that's fine. It doesn't have to be dark to capture spirit. And we were going through some things, and we captured one thing on the thermal cam on a plate, and she was like, the questions you were asking at that time, she says, and that plate I could see the hand on the plate. She could see it through the thermal imaging camera. And the woman goes, I would never have believed that. That is a plate. That is one of the original plates from the first Houdini seance.
Oh.
And
Wow.
she's like, this is very, very interesting. And, at the beginning of the night, it was all of this is hooey, and, okay, you're ghost hunters, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the night, they were telling us things that happened in there that you could never explain, like a sink being flipped upside down and the plumbing still being attached to it.
Oh.
To a
I think
trap,
that's something that we
to
would
the
all
water
love to
being-
see.
Yeah, to the water being shut off in the entire building with a 500-pound piano over the trap door that gets you into the basement. How does that happen? It was, so when we left, they had a lot more stories and a lot more. They were more believing in.
They were a little less skeptical
and more believing in what we did, rather that we weren't, just out there just as, sensationalize the paranormal.
And this is the difference, you've hit the nail on the head. Sensationalism and the paranormal, it is damaged, and I know that I'm probably going to get some comeback for this, but it has damaged the paranormal, because people are going out expecting all this weird and wonderful crap to happen that you see on TV, when in reality that is not what we get. We can sit in locations in the freezing cold, in the dark, hungry, thirsty for hours, and absolutely nothing will happen.
Right.
But yeah, you turn on the TV, and within 5 minutes you've got a demon one end, you've got I don't know, Mary Queen of Scots the other, the poltergeist in the middle, and a UFO hovering over above. Do you know what I mean? It's this is what you get from TV shows that are all about the sensationalism, and I think it has a damaging effect, because there are people that will go out, like you guys, 10 years you've been going. So you guys go out and you put your heart on your sleeve. You try and help people. You try and educate people as well. I've seen your posts, all on Facebook and stuff. And you try and educate people. And sometimes it's like hitting yourself in the face with a brick.
True.
The TV shows have their good and their evil side for the paranormal. It brought paranormal more out in the open, more accepted, more people willing to talk about their experiences, more people willing to seek help. But it has also created this idea that we're going to come into your home, and in 42 minutes,
or 28, depending.
Minus we're going to solve everything, and we're going to send the demon back to hell, and we're going to bring down archangels to bless your home.
You got to scream first, like a little girl.
And scream, we're going to provoke something and yell at it, and then run like a
throw in a dude
door when it blows air on us, or the wind blows. But it brought it to the forefront. But also, because it's been going so long, and there's so much sensationalism, just so people will get a TV show, because they've given up on the paranormal. They now want to be famous.
Mm-hmm.
So now it makes us look like a bunch of morons running around, and this field isn't going to continue growing and really going forward on a scientific level if we have shows that are just totally blown out of proportion. Stories are made up and people are reciting them like it's their own story.
The only problem that we've got with that is, as much as I do think it has a damaging effect, I agree with what you were saying there, Kris. It has brought the paranormal into the forefront, and people are becoming interested in it because of the crap that they see on TV.
Exactly.
I completely agree with what you're saying there, and I think there are still people that do take it seriously. I mean, I know we do. I know you guys do. You've got places like the SPR. Do you know what I mean? They do take it very seriously from a scientific point of view. But if you look at it realistically, who is actually going to sit and watch an episode of an actual paranormal investigation?
I would.
We do all the time. But what I would love to see a show is real. You know, hey, you're going to see the evidence and all of that. But remember, this took us 3 weeks of investigating the same location night after night to get
Your
this
28
20 minutes of
But
evidence.
that's not how it happens on filming, is it? They're there for a day. They do the investigation in the day. And then, in all fairness, to some of the paranormal investigators that are on TV shows, a lot of it is edited. And they don't have the rights to see the editing before it's put out to the public. So, sometimes you are being screwed over by the editing, making you look like a complete fool.
Absolutely.
Now,
I think it's a no-win.
We have to come to terms with that. There's 2 types of people involved in the paranormal. There's ghost hunters and there's paranormal investigators, and they're 2 totally different things. The ghost hunters are out there for the thrill. They want to go. They want to go to the historic places or the well-known places, and they want to see what was seen on TV. And
they're out there for the thrill.
And they're out there for the thrill. And then you have the investigators who are out there for the answers. So they're 2 totally different things.
And I've heard investigators say, well, I call myself a ghost hunter. And that's fine. But what you're doing is know the difference. You're investigating. You're not ghost hunting. You're investigating because you're asking questions, you're recording data, you're using equipment, you're validating, you're doing the research. Ghost hunters don't do that. They run into a building, they heard, oh, this is a haunted building. They're running into these buildings, sometimes trespassing, stealing stuff, and they're just out there to get a thrill. Maybe they're using a recorder, but they aren't cataloging their data. They're just going out there for fun.
That's a magical word there, isn't it? Data. Because as you say, people don't like. I used to write up a report. In fact, I still do, don't I, Dave? When we go out, I still write down. So most people are running around with the K2s, the dowsing rods, SLS camera that picks up cracks in walls, and all of a sudden a person appears. I walk around with pen and paper. So I've got my books and I literally write down everything that's happening, because then when we're going back, or when Dave's going back through the footage, he can literally say to me, did we hear anything at this time? And I can have a look in my book and be like, well, yeah, actually somebody did say they heard something. So, we've got the written copy of that data, of that investigation. Then we've also got the footage that is filmed, any EVPs that are picked up as well, or any recordings that we've got to back up what we're saying actually happened at that timestamp, and you can see where everybody is. You don't get that a lot. Not many people do stuff like that anymore, and it's so infuriating.
Well, it's validation of, when we do an investigation, we're there to prove why things are happening. Okay?
It may not be paranormal.
It may be a bad ground in your electric box creating a high dose of EMF, and this is why you're feeling these things. It could be, forced air heat,
blowing the hair on the deer head.
There's so many things that it could be. So, anything that we can't explain is what becomes paranormal. And when we do capture that great evidence, the great EVP, or capture a great video or a photograph, those are the holy grails. I mean, probably the best photo. Kris is the photographer. I am not a photographer. I am a history geek, an architecture geek, and one of the best photos I ever captured wasn't even it wasn't a picture that I was taking for paranormal. I was taking a picture of the second floor of a snowy night of the 13 colony flag hanging out the window, and I took this photograph because the flag was cool. And I was like, oh, we're walking through the hall. Like, hey, this is really cool. And I posted it. And I was like, hey, this is where we were. And somebody went, wow, that's a great catch. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
I didn't catch it. It was just flying.
And there's a phenomenal in the right-hand corner of the photograph is a fully faced person on the outside of the window, mind you, second floor, and snowing.
So impossible.
Yes. And one of
Unless
our team
you're
members,
Houdini.
You could see the lace on her collar.
yeah.
I mean, it's very clear. It's like we took a photograph of her.
Yes.
Yeah, but there was no her.
But are those pictures are few and far between. Those videos are few and far between. I mean, we probably have spent thousands of hours investigating thousands of different locations over the years, from 1978, as Dave put it, to now. I mean, there's so many experiences that we've had. Those are the ones that kind of stand out. So, I mean, you have a lot of stuff, and it's really cool because as you progress in this, you become a little bit more tuned into different pieces of equipment, and those play to your strengths, so to speak. And you're able, not every piece of equipment is for everybody, and not everybody. And the thing that infuriates me most is people who take a K2 meter and go, it lights up. That's what it does. It tells us if there's a spirit around. And well, what does it measure? It measures EMF. Well, how does it measure EMF? The blinky lights. The blinky lights measure the EMF.
I couldn't agree more. I'm with you on this one, Bill. It drives me nuts. People are running around with equipment and they have no idea how it should actually be used and what it's actually used for.
Right.
They've seen it.
And that's important.
Friends have it.
We need to understand how and why it works.
Yeah,
I mean, because traditionally, most of the equipment that we use in the paranormal is used for other things. We just try these things and we're trying and hope that we're getting the right responses or the answers. And, I mean, think about it. We have no clue who we're talking to. We can't see them. Okay. We do hear them sometimes, or we do see them sometimes, in video or photographs, but we have no idea who we're talking to. They could be a woman. They could be a man. They could be a moose. I mean, I don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That moose in Vermont. I mean, he was really funny.
I don't think I've yet spoken to a moose, but you never know. You can't rule it out, I suppose.
He kept saying, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. I don't know what that was.
Oh, so when you guys are doing your research, whether it be for a private case or a public investigation, where do you start with your research? And is there specifics that you're actually looking for?
Well, that's all you, because I don't do the research. I stay out of the information. Sometimes I don't even
as
know
Kris
where
said, we have a great researcher who goes through history and everything for us, and Heidi does a great job on things that we need. We start with the property. We start with the house. We start with, the people who are living in the house. You could do criminal background checks on anybody and everybody these days. So check and see, because you don't know what you're getting into. But you want to know about the property. You want to know about the history in the area. You want to know when the house was built. You want to look at those records. You want to look up if anybody died in there, or, what the crime rate is in the area, things like that. You want to get a feeling for where you're at.
Is there water? Are there ley lines?
Yeah.
What
look
the
at,
environment is?
Yeah. Look at your topographical maps. Look at, your mineral contents in the area. All of these things play
Earthquakes.
a very important
Earthquakes are a massive one. I find people saying that something's going on, and then when you actually have a look, there was a slight tremor, which was running right through that area. That could explain activity, especially noises as well. Because I mean, we don't often get many earthquakes over this end, but you guys, I'm not sure you actually do in your area, do you?
Yeah, a few.
Yeah. So
you never used to.
Never used to. Yeah, world's changing.
Absolutely. Well, don't we just know it? So, there is noises that come with earthquakes. So, you have to take that into consideration as well. Is it a busy road? Is the traffic that goes past,
Is there a nuclear power plant close by? Is there a factory close by that could be creating infrasound? What is around that area that could be creating false sense of dread and creepiness?
You need to look into that. Like the case that we just did, the private case up in Massachusetts. Mike and his team, Mike and the team was up there for months beforehand. They did the interview process. They went in, they interviewed, they did testings, they did EVPs, they did all of this stuff. And it would stop and it'd start again. It'd stop and it would start. And he said, all right, Mom, Dad, can you please come to Massachusetts? And we said, sure.
We have lots of kids.
Sure, we'll be there. So we went out to Massachusetts, and while we were there, I mean, we spent 2 days in the house with the family and the team, and we were there and we're trying to figure things out. And I went in the basement and I said, I'm an architecture geek. I start looking at beams, when this was built, how was this built, and started putting pieces together. And we were in Danvers, which was truly Old Salem. Most people don't understand that. Danvers, Massachusetts was actually Old Salem. Salem, where Salem is not where the Salem witch trials were. Salem witch trials were actually in Danvers. So there's a lot of history there and a lot of properties and to do the research and find the history of what had happened on this land, who owned it, deaths, etc., and how is it playing out in this family's life right now. We found a coalition with it where this thing collaborated. All right, we have a man who lost a child who died within a week. And when we researched back when this started, it actually started the day that she was born, that in the 1700s, and a week later passed. And that's when this started with the 15-year-old girl who was seeing shadow figures and et cetera, and we went through the whole thing. And when we got into the house, I mean, it's a late 18th century house. There was a farm on the, I mean, now it's a residential neighborhood, but when we did the research, there was a farm, found out all this other information. Now, if you want to talk about a paranormal perfect storm, that's what this house had. It was built on a property that had some atrocities over the years. It had a limestone foundation. The house was horsehair plaster.
And virtually surrounded by water.
It was on a peninsula, and so it's surrounded, 3 sides of water. And the house took on water. So I went in the basement. There were sump pumps and everything in the basement. So, this is what was going on, to trigger some of these things. And, we were able to sit down and talk with them. And, we've been in contact with them since, and everything is fine since we left there 3 weeks ago. And, but the family had a lot of answers, and they were happy with, the answers and how things pieced together.
See, this is it. Once you've got your answers, whether it be paranormal or whether it be environmental, once you've got your answers, I don't think it matters what it is you're dealing with in life. If you've got the answers, you can deal with things and handle it so much better.
Absolutely. I mean, some of what you do when you go into private residence is counseling. You're talking to them about how to handle the situation, how to accept what's going on and live with what's going on, or changing outlooks, or how to cleanse the home, even if it's just a sense of peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're there to help them in whatever way necessary.
Yeah, sometimes it's just that listening ear, isn't it? It's just somebody to tell you that you are not going insane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even though in this climate, with all this COVID, I think we all are slightly going insane, in all fairness.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
How many of your private cases then are not linked to the house or the location, but is linked to a family member?
I would say you end up with like maybe it's a 50-50 shot, you know. And that's an excellent question, Dave, because now you have to think about the paranormal, and and you need to think about spirit life, and you need to think about where we are. You know, everybody wants it to be, you know, Grandma Mary and Uncle Sam. You know, that's what everybody wants it to be. But, you know, no matter where we are, someone else had lived there long before us. And many people have lived on that land, and many things have lived on that land. So it's kind of, you know, you never know what you're going to get. You know, as much as you want it to be, you know, Grandma Mary and Uncle Sam, it might be, you know, Jebediah, who, you know, who farmed the land 100 years ago. You don't know what you're going to get.
One of the theories I'm working on is that sometimes someone's being haunted and they have no recognition of who this person haunting them is, but we live many lives. I do past life regressions. I've taken people back to multiple lives. And so I know we live past lives. I know there's more after death. And know how you meet someone and right away you click. You've known them. You know who they are. Well, that's your souls recognizing each other. You don't necessarily in this lifetime recognize that soul from a past life, but in this lifetime, your souls know that you've met. So if one soul is reborn and the other is not yet reborn, sometimes that soul that's doing the haunting is actually recognizing your soul, and they're trying to communicate with you because they recognize you. But in this life form, in this body, you don't recognize that soul.
So, Kris, how do you use the past life regression in terms of an investigation?
Actually, I haven't. That's something I've done separately, but I would love to actually do that at some point, like a private case. Like this last case might have been a great case, because in communicating with the spirit that was there, I believe the girl either reminded him of the child he lost, or it's her in this lifetime, and he recognizes her as his daughter who had passed. So it would be really interesting to take her back and see if we could connect those lives at the same time. But I haven't used it in the paranormal yet, which I don't know why I've never thought of that. Thank you.
I'm full of weird and wonderful ideas, trust me. You would not believe some of the things that I do on investigations, because I'll just be sat there and I'll just think, hang on a minute, well, what about if we did this with this? What will happen then?
Feather in a jar.
No, this is why we do shows, talk to people, talk to other investigators. Why we go to events is because sometimes someone has an idea, or you'll just be talking and something like you saying, well, how do you use it in the paranormal? Never thought of that, you know?
Yeah, well, it's worth trying, isn't it? Because you never know what could come of it, to be fair.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You've got, the way I say it is, you have to try everything. You don't know if something's going to work unless you've tried it.
Right. And if it doesn't, oh, well, you aren't out anything.
Exactly. I mean, guys, we've got to mention the fact, like, your tops. So let me be. I'm hoping I'm one of the first people to say it. I'm probably not, but praise the Lord for somebody that's in a paranormal team that doesn't have a black bloody hoodie.
We decided, oh, I have those. I have those.
I have loads of those.
Decided,
I don't wear anything unless it's black. But to be fair, most paranormal teams have the black get up because
the black
it's a done thing.
Required T-shirt and the K2 meter. It's required.
That's why I've just said to my team that we're all changing our tops now. I've got a blue one. Our team medium's got a red one. His partner's got a purple one t-shirt, so we're all different colours. You don't have to wear black.
Right. We decided to bring some color to the paranormal. And, you know, it's 2020. We needed to do something to bring some light and love into the year. And so this was our solution.
This was our COVID brainchild.
And it's given us something to do. I mean, I will tie-dye anything at this point. I mean, I pulled the sheets off the bed and started tie-dyeing those because I ran out of white t-shirts. So
honestly, it is so refreshing to see a paranormal team wearing something other than black. I mean, I know I'm a fine one to talk because I don't actually think I own anything in my wardrobe that isn't black. But on investigations, I don't rock up in my team hoodie and cargo pants and a torch in the pocket, you know, like Paul Blatt from Mole Cop or whatever it's called. What you see is what you get with me. I will rock up with a face full of makeup and my hair done because not many people actually see me without that, to be fair. And I will rock up wearing, I don't know, jeans and heels or whatever I want to wear because that's what I'm comfortable in.
Absolutely. You know, I looked in my closet about a year and a half ago and it was black, gray, black, gray, black, gray, black, gray. And I went, you know what? I need some color. So I went out and I started with a purple shirt. And I'm like, I'm just going to put some color into the closet. Now I've got an array of colors. Granted, mostly it's gray, black, purple, gray, black, purple, and a few other colors splattered in. But the tie-dyes just
slot them in. Yeah, slot the tie-dyes in for a bit of colour. It'll be fine. I honestly don't wear anything. Very rare will you see me in anything that is not black. Honest to God, I think my coat and my scarf is about the only thing that isn't.
I think we'll have to bring you out on that one, Jem. Get a bit of colour.
No, and this is the worst thing, right? Because we all wear black on paranormal investigations because that's the done thing, but if you think about it logically, whenever you're on night vision camera, your black stuff turns out white.
Yeah.
Or grey.
Or if you're wearing black leggings, you can see right through them.
It looks like you're naked. Yeah, been there, done that.
You can see the underwear. I mean, it's just, it's.
It is crazy. Just chat away because it's come to that point.
I was going to ask you guys, for the amount of time you've been investigating now, how has the paranormal field changed, in your opinion? Has it got worse? Is there more jealousy? Is there more people that are happy to work with you?
All right, you asked like 5 questions in one. Which one do you want to answer?
Go on then, go through them all.
It's gotten a lot more advanced.
Yes.
It's also... It's like a junior high school girls' locker room, and everyone is on the rag. They're just at each other. It is junior high school all over again. There's this clique and that clique, and if you like this group, you can't be friends with this group. You know what? Everyone needs to get over their egos and realize the only way this field goes forward is if we collaborate and share information and do it in a adult manner and leave the petty BS behind.
Yeah, if you look at the paranormal today, everybody's pink elephant is para-unity. Everybody wants this para-unity thing. And it'll never exist because of ego. But Absolutely. You can collaborate. That's something totally different. You can work with all these different people, you can network, and you need to do that. You need to, put yourself out there as someone who isn't going to take sides on any war, which is what our team does, but, which is silly. I mean, I think these turf wars are silly, but you need to be able to work together. You need to be open to new ideas. Like, Gemma saying to Kris, how do you use that in this? And now it's like, okay, let's think about it. That was a few years ago. We were doing an interview on our show, Paranormal Collaboration. We were doing an interview, and Mary Marshall was talking about a lightning strike detector and using it to validate static charges that they were getting during an investigation. I'm like, what? Tell me about this thing. What is this? And it's just a piece that you use. Golfers use them, hikers use them to see where lightning strikes are. And we've used it in unison with, static domes and things like that, and had responses on both. And, the cool thing with the lightning strike detector is we were able to go on the weather service when we went on break, go outside, go on weather, and find out where the closest lightning strike was to see if it was real or not. And it was like Ecuador. So,
yeah. And we had 30 some strikes register within a 20 some minute time period. And the nearest lightning strike had been in Ecuador.
So, I mean, these things are amazing. So you could learn from everyone. And that you need to be open to learn. You need to be open to new ideas and new concepts. You need to learn your equipment. You need to understand what you're doing. And, attending public events is a great way to do it, as long as you're getting, an education while you're there. Not here's a K2 meter, or, hey, run around, go ahead, look for a ghost. Mm-hmm. And you have no idea what you're looking for, what the equipment works. I mean, when we do public investigations, we allow the public to use our equipment. I'll let them run around with our SLS camera, and teach them, oh, you look at that. I got a man here. No, you got a hat rack. But
of course, they have to present a photo ID and have their picture taken with the equipment, because at the end of the night, I don't want to chase them down, and I will hunt them down. That's my retirement fund.
I agree. So I'm just going through the chat that's been going on, because we can't obviously see it on our screen, so I have to do it separately. So I've just been going through.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Tommy wants to know.
So Claire said earlier on, she knows some people fake their evidence, but I would think there is enough genuine evidence and personal experiences to suggest that there is something after death, even if it's just a release of energy and a reassignment for it into something else, or maybe energy gets left behind as the evidence that we sometimes capture. Now, I would agree with that. Would you guys?
I would agree. That's a great statement that Claire made. Because we need to, we do need to look at what things are. I don't understand why people fake evidence. I don't understand why.
Here we go to fake evidence ghost hunter.
Yes.
Investigators are looking for answers. If you're truly after answers, you don't need to fake anything. You take what you've got.
And the other thing is you have a precedent now of locations making up stories about their location. Mm-hmm. And if you don't do your due diligence and do your research, I mean, if we're going to a well-known place, we still research it. We research the area. We research everything, because I'm not going to go in there just because Dave said this happened or this is real. Doesn't mean that it is.
Absolutely, yeah. And your research, I agree with you guys. Your research is key. A few people did put in the chat earlier, as was talking, that's what the difference is between a professional group and cowboys. The fact that if you do your research, because if you're doing your research properly, you'll find out the alleged areas in where the alleged paranormal activity is happening, and you can focus your equipment and the areas that you're going to do your investigation in based around the allegations. Well, just makes sense.
Here's some of the things. Now, here's some things, and this is a theory that I've had, and I'm interested in what you guys think. If you go to a well-known location, and in that corner, Gemma saw dancing plates in the corner. So when you go to that location, everybody's going to focus on that corner because Gemma had this experience. And behind you, you have full body apparitions running around. They're playing ping pong. They're juggling fire.
But that's surely where you would plan your investigation. So I would focus on that area, but I would have cameras facing the other direction, just so that I could capture every angle.
I'm of the belief that sometimes an interaction with spirit is not meant for everyone. It's meant for that person as an individual experience. I mean, the four of us could stand with EVP recorders and do an EVP session and I may catch something, Gemma may catch something, Dave gets nothing, Kris gets
I
nothing.
get nothing ever.
And all of us are standing there. Why didn't all four of us catch it? Because it wasn't meant for them.
Absolutely. Personal experiences, again, though, do make up quite a lot of the paranormal field.
Absolutely.
So Grant put in the chat earlier, sorry, I ain't got my glasses on, so I can't see very well. If you put silver or gold onto the back of the neck, you will find out if somebody is possessed. And I think he said is a demonologist or just done a demonology course. So that's interesting. I didn't actually know that.
I didn't know that either.
I have never heard of that.
No, me
I'm
neither.
gonna have to look into that.
I know, right? Exactly.
Or if he could share some information with you and you could get it to us, I'm interested on where that came from.
Yeah, definitely. And if I find any information, I'll obviously ping it through to you guys as well.
And see what he says about that.
Nick says, "Hi, Kris and Bill."
Hi, Nick. Is that Nick Millay?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Hi, Nick.
He gets everywhere, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. Nick's awesome.
Grant said that he feels like My House is Haunted is a good program. I don't think that actually is over with you guys,
America,
does it? I don't think it's in the States.
You know, I will say this: the UK stance on paranormal is way more acceptable as far as, you know, on a scholastic level, even than it is, you know, in the Americas. It's just like, you guys take it. I loved my favorite stories. I used to watch BBC and watch the ghost stories on BBC because you were getting the history, you were getting the reenactment of what happened in that personal experience, and you were getting to see the little bit of the investigation. So you had everything. And, you know, now it's just all sensationalism. It's like, that all you got? Come on, bring it. Oh my God, it touched me.
All right, Zach, calm down.
If we're not getting anything, one of our investigators, Sean, if we don't get anything in one particular time or an hour's gone by, nothing's happened, he says, "Come on, or I'll open a can of whoop ass." Just to get a reaction.
And I think spirit will react to that. I think they laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. Grant
He makes
also
us
said,
laugh.
"Oh, don't. Honestly, we was on an investigation once, and there was a hole in the floor, and there was a piece of wood covering the hole. Somehow the wood had moved, and Sean literally fell down the hole just as we was in the middle of doing an experiment that was quite unnerving, to say the least. When I say that the whole room just died of laughter, it was hilarious." We do love Sean. So Grant also said your body is a great detector.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I couldn't agree more with that statement. Our little Nick said earthquake fault lines are known to generate vibrational energy. Agreed.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But people don't often look into that either.
No.
People are just saying about knowing your history is key, which we all agree on anyway.
Agreed.
Grant said, "I have a question for you. It says mediums cannot be demonologists. Why is that? And also doing drugs."
Okay. So mediums can't be demonologists. I've never heard that.
No.
Now,
okay. Our team medium, he's a medium and a demonologist.
That's what I was just thinking. That's what our face was all about. Because
let's look at it this way. Okay, let's assume that demons are real. And it's not just malevolent spirits. There's a difference between demon and malevolent spirit. So let's assume demons are real. Mediums open themselves up to energy, and we channel some of that energy in order to communicate with the spirit. So when we channel, we're opening ourselves up, allowing something to come in and
into your energy space.
Into our energy space. And if there is a demon opening up to that energy can be dangerous, and demons can pose as whatever they want to pose as, a young child, an uncle who is beloved, anything.
And that goes back to, we don't know what we're dealing with, at any point in time when we're just, talking with spirit. We don't know what we're dealing with. There's no definitive answer. I mean, are we being told what we want to hear? Are we hearing, let's go into the multiverse? All time happens at once, past, the present, and the future. Are we only are the EVPs that we're catching are just a time glitch, and we're actually hearing conversations from that time period, and it's not spirit at all? We have no clue, and this is why we keep doing what we're doing, and we keep looking for these answers, and data and everything needs to be done. As far as a medium
rabbit hole,
being a medium, being a demonologist, I know several who are. I don't see any reason why they can't be.
It's just more protection.
I don't understand the drug thing, but
drugs and drinking in the paranormal, you're opening yourself up. So for our investigations, you're not allowed to drink it prior to,
during or after. Well, after, we don't care after.
No, we're the same, aren't we?
Investigation, there is no drinking.
We're not, we don't, and we're not drinkers anyway. But the big thing is that I always say is, there's a reason they call alcohol spirits.
Mm-hmm.
See, now I am partial to a gin or two. It's got to be said, but I don't drink on investigations.
No, you see teams posting their pictures. Here, I'm doing Fireball.
Yeah.
No, I don't see the point.
It's not a party.
How do you protect yourself if your mental faculties are?
How are you even experiencing what you're there to experience if you're already intoxicated with something anyway?
Yes.
Common sense.
Yes, it was a good question.
Nick said that's why he has his vest, so he can have different patches of various colours. Don't blame you, Nick. I'm sticking to my black.
We wore black too many years in our lives.
Oh my God. Yeah. Work, club, all of it.
So what kind of, when you're out investigating, what kind of gadgets do you use? Do you use a specific number, or do you use one or two, or?
Okay, when the roadies come in with the 37 cases,
and
that's no exaggeration. It depends on the location. I mean, we like to have all different types of equipment at the ready, so to speak, so that we can kind of try different things. And it really depends on what, we react on ourselves. What are we getting? What is our bodies picking up? What kind of thing? What is our medium picking up? Or those who are, have gifts, what are they picking up? And kind of start to tailor it towards what's going on rather than what everybody has said it was.
Our equipment setup depends on how long we're going to be there, how big is the location, what is occurring, how many people are there, and we can be prepared for virtually anything in that. My train of thought is getting lost. We can handle a whole lot. We have everything from
pendulum,
a bottle of talcum powder, and a ball, to ITC and gadgets that are being made right now for the paranormal, and everything in between. But when we first really started going out, when Bill and I teamed up together, I'd walk into a place and I'd be carrying 6-7 pieces of equipment room to room with me. And now I walk with a recorder and myself, and I leave the gadgets and that to team members who are more into that. And if we're doing a public investigation, we're carrying it all around because the people coming to those want to learn. We're teaching them about the equipment. They want the blinky,
flashy
beep, beep,
like
beep, beep.
Yeah.
So we have everything to kind of cover all of that. And it's good to know all the equipment. But the more I do this and the stronger my gifts get, the less I use equipment.
I mean, I won't go anywhere without my recorder. I won't go anywhere without my recorder unless Spirit takes it, which is
It's happened to you.
yes.
In our home, we have one that likes to move stuff around.
You know, but so an EVP recorder, I always have to have my recorder with me. I like my SB7. I like the Spirit Box. I mean, there's a lot of great things out there. I love dowsing rods. I mean, I absolutely love dowsing rods. And I've had great evidence validated using dowsing rods. I've had people looking for answers in private cases, have very personal experiences when they were holding dowsing rods where they've actually flipped around and hugged them when it was a loved one. We were at a museum and this woman wanted to, it was a local museum and upstairs was a military room and we were doing an EVP session in there and the woman was using dowsing rods. We got an EVP that gave her nickname as a child that her father used to call her, and unbeknown to her, her father's uniform was in that room.
Wow.
And at the end, the dowsing rods actually flipped around and hugged her. She came back with her sister, and the same thing happened again. I mean, you can't make that shit up.
No, you can't. No. So, what's give you the most evidence then?
What
gadgets give you the most evidence?
I think
evidence.
EVPs and video. Like people, the orbs. People take pictures. Oh, here's an orb. Here's an orb. Don't show me a picture. Take video of it. I want to see the movement. I want to see how the dust particles are moving. I want to see where that orb is moving compared to the bugs and the dust in the room. I want video of it. Don't show me an orb picture. I mean, it could be dust, rain, snow. It could be someone sneezing. It could be COVID blasting across a room. It could be anything. So don't show me a picture. Show me video. And I think video and recordings, especially when used together, make some of the greatest evidence you're going to find.
And be ready to capture the most incredible evidence when you're joking around with your team.
Yep.
And
yeah, we've noticed that. Yeah, especially if you're having a conversation with your team when you're having a break and you're talking away and you'll hear something.
Yep. Never turn off the equipment.
Yeah, if you go back about a year ago, there's a video. It's on our Facebook page. It's on our website. Down in Vulture City, Arizona, which was a gold mine. And we were standing outside the brothel, and the brothel door closed while we were standing there. And I'm like, is somebody in the building? What's going on? And because we were just outside, chatting. We went inside. Everybody went in. Everybody's running video. Everybody's running recorders. We made sure all the windows, doors, everything was buttoned up. And the door closed on me, and it's on video 3 times.
The third time, strong enough that it latched itself.
Wow.
And one of the videos, Michelle LeBaron, our West Coast leader, on the video, you can see a light anomaly come at the door as the door slams closed in Bill's face, and it latched.
And it latched. It wouldn't let me back in.
So it was really cool. Vulture City's freaking awesome.
I have gone quiet, guys. I'm so sorry. What I'm doing is I am just getting a link from.
She got bored.
No,
she got bored. She's off.
No, I'm not. I'm just
playing Animal Crossing to Horizon.
I'm literally just getting a link for your page so I could pop it in the chat. So if anybody that wants to get in touch with you guys can do so.
Sure, reapinvestigations.com.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Twitter.
We're still on Instagram.
Yep.
Twitter. Facebook is the easiest way
to get in touch with
us.
So what are your plans for next year?
Well, We're going to be in New England pretty much the entire summer. We're going to base camp our RV in Vermont, and we're going to travel from there, hit most of the New England, and then at the end of the summer, we're going to head west,
and then southwest where it's warm,
and then stay warm next winter.
Have you guys got a YouTube channel then, or where we can watch your videos?
No,
not yet.
No.
We talk about it.
I despise editing.
It takes me months.
Yeah,
I'm a
but
perfectionist.
and I'm of the theory that if you're gonna have a YouTube channel, just run your raw footage and just let it go.
Yeah,
but nobody's gonna sit there for 8 hours.
No, that's it. They'd be not like us. They'd be falling asleep after half an hour.
Because when you edit things, you don't know what's going on. So we kind of didn't get into the YouTube thing. We do post videos, on our website. We post them on our Facebook pages of things that go on, and we'll run them.
Things are kept raw.
Things are we keep everything raw, and here's what it is.
Clipped to short bursts, but try and keep it raw. That way, you tell us what you think.
Yeah, and if we run EVPs and we post EVPs, you'll never see on there. This is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I never do that either.
What did you hear? And we see, and everybody, message, types in their comments what they think they hear or what they did hear, and we go from there.
Working.
Part of it is I get to be a bit of a control freak, and I want it done just so. So I take on that I'm going to go through it all. Well, when we do a location, Bel Air House, and we were there for 7 days. We were there for a week. A few days with just Bill and I, a few days with a couple more team members, and a few more days with Bill and 8 women. It was a long time, and we had the DVR system set up running 24/7.
8 cameras.
8 cameras.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day for that entire time. EVP recorders playing nonstop. Some that they run from beginning to end, and there's always one on every investigation that runs nonstop recording. And then the ones that are instant playback, and we'll do bursts of EVP sessions. So when you take 7 days, 8 cameras, and play that, and that's 8 weeks of video footage to watch, and most of it paint drying. Shoot me now.
I know it's hard, because even if you're just doing 8 hours, well, if you think about for 6 or 7 cameras, and you've got to go through all the footage on them,
or even if you think to 1 hour footage to review that and to edit it, just reviewing it, because you're going forward, you're going back, forward, back, you're watching over and over, you're jumping back and forth. Reviewing 1 hour footage could take 4 hours easy, just to make sure you paid attention to everything on that screen.
Yeah, you want to go frame by frame. You want to look at what you got. You're slowing your video. You're bringing it in and out on what you see. You're trying to, then you're trying to go back to notes, and you're trying to go back to recorder notes and go, okay, what was going on at this time? Was that noise? Oh, it was okay. Dave had Taco Bell. That's what the noise is. Okay.
What we really need is someone who loves to sit there and listen and watch this stuff for hours on end, and we'll do it for tacos.
Yes. Yes, I'll send them 30 years of video footage they can go through.
Absolutely, yeah. Here you go. You can have ours as well. Have it all. On that note, guys, I think we're probably going to have to revisit at some point, because we could talk for hours. But I am very conscious of the fact that it's 25 to 11 and I have to be up early for work. So I am going to have to call it a night. I am so sorry. But Kris and Bill Reap from Reap Investigations. You guys are awesome, and it has been an
Thank
absolute
you.
honor to speak to you both tonight.
It was an
It's been
honor.
a blast. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for having us on.
Thank you. It's
Great.
been a pleasure.
I think we're going to have
Wonderful
to
seeing your
revisit.
faces.
Sure,
Yeah.
whenever. Just let us know.
Yeah, well, we've just been waffling. I don't even think I've touched one of the questions that I actually had for you. Gran, you're asking for a link. I've put a link in the chat. If you scroll up, you'll find a link to Bill and Chris's page. So pop over and have a look. For everybody joining us tonight, thank you so much. It is an absolute pleasure to have you all with us. Kris and Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you,
will
guys.
see you all soon. Take care,
See you
everyone.
tomorrow night.
Thank you. Be kind.